Hello, hamjambo tena. My name is Anthony Mwaikwasi and this is the Mwaikwasi mic. In case you are yet to subscribe. Usiache nyuma bana. And today in our studios, I'm not alone. I'm having a guest, my brother whom we have known each other for a long way and we have also engaged in other political matters. Karibu sana bro.
Asante boss.
Jitambulishe boss kabla sijatambulisha program.
Kwa majina mimi naitwa Paul Soita. Mimi ni mkereketwa wa siasa kwa sasa za chini. I haven't gotten to that. I've not gotten to that level yet. So ndio kuanza. Otherwise just a Kenyan who loves this country, and I think we in each and every one space we can do what we can to build this country.
So members, today on our episode 7 we are rolling out a new program, the State of the Nation Address, where we'll be looking at the current political environment and we analyze politics and the recent happenings. So our first guest on the State of the Nation Address, Mr. Paul Soita. Karibu bro.
Thank you boss.
Sasa mimi natarajia 2027 usimame. Maana hii
siasa bado.
Siasa bado.
Siasa bado. When siasa ikianza itaanza. Because right now there are so many things that are happening. It's very hard to say what is going to happen tomorrow. So until that point when you can say this is now the direction, then unaanza kusema sasa hapa naweza penya na hivi. Kwa sababu siasa ni mchezo wa pata potea. But again, in as much as ni mchezo wa pata potea, you have to set your chips right. So that even when unajua zingine unaweza anguka kwa mattress. So usianguke tu.
Soft landing.
You have soft landing.
Okay. So me have a quick question to you. Maybe just to cut you short. Say mzee ametuacha. Nikisema mzee ni baba. How is that going to change our landscape? So your thoughts before I share with you mine.
So when you watch the headlines on TV the other day, they were talking about the end of an era. And it has been quite a long journey. You look at where it all started, and so it's an end of something, but also means the beginning of another thing. You look at, for instance, what was the struggle during their time, because that was a generation. He marks an end of a struggle of a generation, because for them at their time, they were fighting for democracy, and the whole idea of being able to have a space where you can express yourself freely. Sure. Because unakumbuka wakati wao, the struggle was more about can we have that space where we make choices, our voices are heard, because they were fighting. You look at things like the multipartism, because it was all an idea of expression. So for them it was more about, because there are 3 levels of this struggle at this stage. There are 2. The first one was in the 1960s, when the Kenyans at that time, our forefathers, were fighting for the independence of this country. And the enemy at that time was somebody we knew who was not one of us. Alikuwa ni mzungu, an outsider.
Yeah.
We were fighting for freedom. Can we be in a position where we determine our own future as a country? And then came the second struggle. Now this is now the second liberation that they always refer to. That is in the late 80s, the early 90s, when they were fighting against a system that had been set up to prevent democracy.
It was all about the multipartism. So
it was about multipartism, and all through it has always been about the democratic space for people to be able to enjoy the space that was they fought for in the 1960s. So imekuwa advancement. We start with the freedom. Can we be able to govern ourselves? And they come and advance that and say, now we've been able to govern ourselves, but how do we then do it? So it is an end of that kind of fight, that kind of struggle. We have a progressive constitution courtesy of that struggle. So they gave us something that we can be able to now sit and say, I can sit somewhere and criticize the president, not be worried about what will happen to me tomorrow, because their time it was very difficult. So they fought for that freedom.
But we are coming to that. When you say that you can just come and criticize the president,
yes,
not knowing what will happen.
Yes.
Remember, when Baba died, there were bills that the president assented to.
Yeah.
Amongst the bills, there's the Computer Misuse and Cyber Crimes Act, which limits the freedom of expression at some point. when you look at that?
Freedom of expression is in itself a definition. In its definition means it's not about saying what is specifically right, because what is right depends on whoever you're asking. It's about being able to air your opinions and your voice without being victimized. And it cuts both ways, because when you look at, on one hand, you could defend the whole idea of, let us have this bill, but also on the other hand, you want to say to what limits. And the example is your freedom. They usually say, my freedom to stretch my hands should not interfere with your freedom to enjoy your personal space.
Exactly.
On one hand. So we would argue and say, so for example, if I went online and posted material that would injure your reputation, you say I have to take care of you, I also have to take care of myself. So it cuts both ways. Sometimes when you see some of these things being published or passed, sometimes you want to look at it from the space of politics only, because laws are not meant for the political space, only that we are so much a political country that we think that anything that the National Assembly passes is for politics.
No,
but even in the private space, we've gotten to a point where we have to be responsible as a country, responsible as citizens, and responsible as especially young people, especially with the space we are in social media. I'll give you an example. When you as a young person, you want to contest, or you have any other thing going on, you're a celebrity, you're known, you also are a human being. You have to be protected.
Sure.
But on the other hand, then we say the only problem that comes in is now those people who are have that authority to implement, ndio sasa wanafika level now they overuse it or misuse it to the extent that it now becomes a problem.
Yeah. So wewe unakubaliana na rais kwamba hiyo
sijakubaliana na rais.
Sijakataa pia. You are heading in that direction.
You have to look at it from a balanced point of view. But of course the National Assembly na wabunge pia also have issues with the National Assembly. We have a National Assembly, we all know, it speaks for the president or speaks for the executive.
The president's mouthpiece.
It's president's mouthpiece. It's a rubber stamp organization. So personally, I don't want to lie to you. I have not really gone into the details, but what I have had is basically an internet version of the explanation, or rather description of the bill. So until now, I go into the details and say, this is the substance of it. So I can't really say it's bad or good. But I have seen, like I was saying, the idea is good. And in any kind of system, laws are always meant for the good reasons, but implemented for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So yes, it is okay to protect you, but now what limits? What are the limits? Unajua hiyo ndio sasa shida inatokea pale. Yeah.
Sawa. Basi since you have said that
I'm trying to be balanced.
Okay, you are trying to be balanced, but in politics lazima utangaze msmamo. No. In politics you just don't sit at the fence. Let me tell
you, my brother.
You have to understand.
Do you know one of the problems we have in this country? Is we usually look at things in the extent, in the context of the system is broken. And everybody says, no, he's in mbaya, ile si nzuri, that is very wrong. But nobody sits and says, yes, it's broken, but how do we fix it? I can tell you this. In 2022, there were people who were voted in for simply saying Uhuru is bad. Nothing else. Hakuna mtu alikuwa na agenda. Nobody said,
Ama baba amesema tosha.
Baba amesema tosha.
Mkininyema MCA, mkininyema coach.
So we have a kind of, and that's why when I was talking about the end of an era, is even the culture of politics that has been practiced in this country. If today, my friend, you say you are running, there's a template for politics. They will tell you, kona pesa. You don't have money, therefore you cannot be a politician. You hear people describe Maraga and say he does not have charisma, because there is a template for politics in this country. And I think in the next, that era that has ended and the one that needs to begin should be one that looks at what is the culture around our politics. Because I will tell you, it is, in my view, it is very wrong to protest against the president and not question the systems that enable him to do what he does. Because I'll tell you this, we have a problem with the president. You say, the national government is corrupt. We also have the same problem with the county governments. So then what is the problem? Because
the fish has rotten from the head all the way to the bottom.
But even in not just the president is in Kenya Kwanza. We have a problem with county governments that were voted in through the opposition. So what is the problem? What is it that is wrong with us as a country? What is the problem with our political culture, with the culture around our politics, the system around our politics? I'll give you, I'll put it this way. When you look at what has been happening, that's why I've given you an example. If you want to run today, there's a template that even the Kenyans themselves will tell you, you cannot speak this way, so you are not qualified. You are not this tall, so you are not. If you want to run for president, you don't have a chopper, my friend. Your chances of succeeding are very low. Exactly. Because you don't have a chopper. If you land somewhere with one car, you will not succeed because the people will look at you and say, huyu hafai kwa sababu gani?
Maskini atatuibia.
Huyu ni maskini, huyu hana hii, huyu hajui kuongea, huyu mwanzo ni mrefu, because kuna template. In fact, we applaud goons for being goons and we reward them. In this country, if you are too good, you don't get too far. So we have a template for politics. And that is one of the things we need to begin to look at. What is wrong with our system of politics? Because it doesn't begin with the president. It doesn't begin, because the issues that we have today were there during Uhuru's time. We had issues with SGR at that time. We had issues with KEMSA at that time. Corruption did not start today. And all things we complain even as young people about lack of accountability didn't start today. And it is not only at the national level, it is in the county governments. So we have a problem.
Okay, just to cut you short. You see, there's a problem. Huh? When you come to the county government, they'll tell you, hatujapokea pesa bado za devolution. You go up there, they tell you, we found empty coffers. So everybody has an excuse in the whole chain.
But that is politics. When they lie to you when they are getting in, how do you think they will not lie to you when they are in there? You see, let me tell you. Sometimes you look at the way people, and the problem is, I usually say, is the people. I'll give you an example of expecting accountability from the MCAs, which is very difficult. An MCA cannot hold a governor to account. It's very difficult because
why?
You are in town. Your MCA in a rural area anaambiwa aenda achangishe kujenga kanisa. He is expected to buy uniform kits, jerseys for football teams. He is invited to all manner of kinds of harambes. Where do you think this person is getting that money? Mshahara yake ni ile kidogo. How do you expect that person to survive? And you want that person to be elected. Ukiwa MCA, my friend, ukiwa MCA and you don't appear in your ward for 1 month, they will tell you this guy huyu amehama, hata tulimchagua ameenda kuishi ukata siku hizi aishi hapa.
Mpata kiburi akatoka.
Mpata kiburi ametoka. Because it's hard, you have to find ways to sustain your existence in that position. So you have to find a way to live with the county government.
So you want to say that for an MCA to survive well, he or she has to glorify corruption?
No, you not glorify corruption, just keep quiet. You don't have to glorify. That's what they do.
But keep quiet how? My supporters want to listen to me speak.
Just keep quiet and they also get a few favors here and there. Because when you keep quiet, you'll get a few trips, you'll get something, utapata kitu kidogo, that will enable you, ukiitwa harambe mahali, unaweza kuwa na mchango, ndio wasiseme umepotea, kwa sababu next election wataka kurudi. That is the reality. And I usually say, sometimes talk to young people and tell them, let us not live in the cloud. Let us not pretend that we are in heaven. We are living among us devils. And you have to learn sometimes, all the bad people will succeed because we good people don't know how to be bad.
To be bad, exactly.
So you have to understand that this is the reality. It's not a world we imagine that exists or is somewhere around there. It is the world we live in. And the reality is that on the ground, if today you are elected as an MCA, there are things you will do that are beyond your responsibility as a legislator, as a person who is elected to oversight and a person who is elected to represent. You will spend in fact, much of what you will do has nothing to do with what you are elected to do.
Exactly. You see,
that is the reality.
Ukiangalia political environment, at times we expect a lot from our leaders. For example, I'll tell you, for example, take it to context to where I see politics from. Tuseme kuna matanga MCA anafaa toe gari iende mochari ilete mwenda zake.
Hiyo gari lazima iwekwe mafuta.
Hiyo gari lazima iwekwe mafuta.
Kwa hiyo mazishi kuna tent
imekuwa. Kuna tent lazima iwekwe. Haya kuna mchele.
Kuna mchele.
MCA anafaa toe kilo ngapi za mchele?
Yani all social events, harusi kuna mchele.
Kuna mchele yeah.
Kuna vyakula, kuna nini na nini.
Kuna matent.
Matanga kuna vitu zinahitajika. Tunatafuta MCA. Yeah. Mtoto wangu amefukuzwa school fees.
Pigie MCA.
There's a medical, una mtu wetu amekuwa admitted hospitali, anahitaji bill, tupigie MCA. Where do you think this person is getting that? This person has a family. This person is supposed to pay school fees for his kids. This person has a life to live beyond, ye mwenyewe kama yeye, kabla wafikie nyinyi. Where do you think this person is going to get this money?
To whom much is given, much is expected.
How much how much are you giving this person? As taxpayers money. This person anapata mshahara wa let's say 100,000.
They get
or 180. Or let's say 200.
200, yeah.
200,000 per month. Hako na bills zake za kulipa. Ni binadamu, because at the end of the day you also have to take care of yourself. Na kwa sababu ni MCA umechaguliwa, and let me tell you, I'm saying the culture of politics. You get out of that position with nothing, they will tell you jamaa hajui kujipanga. Ujamaa hakujipanga.
Amechanganyikiwa.
Lakini wanazao ni wewe walikula pesa? Walikuwa nakula pesa yako. Harambee walikuita everything they were doing within the community. They sit and they think, who do we call first? Let us look for the MCA.
Kwanza huwa wanasema MCA, unajua MCA kwa karibu. Mbunge, niko Nairobi, let's meet over the weekend, naweza kuja. But MCA yuko hapo kama yule pale kwetu. Vijana wakitaka kwenda games, asubuhi wanakuja nyumbani kwake.
Kila kukiwa na tournament ya mpira, tutafute hatuna bus, tutafute MCA. You see, that is the reality. Those are the realities we live with. These are not and I usually say MCAs not fall from, these leaders did not fall from heaven, or they not from, these are people we grown up with, wanaenda kanisa zetu, wanaenda shule zetu, ni ndugu zetu, we know there are relatives around, so they're not new people. Exactly. There are people who are also trying to survive this economy that we are in.
We have to relook at that. I think the most gap hapo
is the culture.
Culture and things to do with civic education.
The culture of politics.
Be schooled, huyu expectations zake ni hizi, huyu ni hivi.
And you cannot tell people not to
strike that balance.
And you cannot go and tell people now, mnajua huyu MCA amechaguliwa ana kitu tusimuite. They will not listen to you.
Huwezi ambiwa hivyo.
And I usually tell young people, the most difficult kiti ya kupata ni MCA. It looks easy because the area is close, but it's the most difficult thing.
Kwa nini sasa? MCA kura ya 1,000, 1,200.
Kura 1,000, my friend, MCA kupata kura 1,000 ni ngumu sana. Depending on where you are. If you are in a rural area, you will have first problems. They will start, if you are a young person, they will ask you, the elders will call you, are you married? And they will tell you, you cannot lead us if you don't have a wife. How can you lead us if you cannot even lead you don't have somebody you are leading in your own home?
But I'm a leader in my own life trajectory.
No, they don't reason like that. You see, that's a problem. It starts from there. And then they ask you, the next question is, do you have man? Who can pesa? So it's a very complicated environment. That's number one, if you're in a rural area. And then number 3, they know you. They know your history. And they can deny you votes because your uncle somewhere drinks and insults people. Wanaweza kuambia wewe, Anthony, we cannot vote for you because your father did this and that. That is a village. They know everybody. They know your history. They know everything that you've done wrong or right. And sometimes kuna vitu ulifanya wewe unaona ujuange kwamba watu wanajua. Ile siku utasimama ndio watakwambia, Anthony, you did this and that. You think we don't know, we know. And they run around and they start
ukisimama history yako inajulikana yote.
Ukisimama ndio kitabu yako inatokea. If you're in a town center, if you think you have money, everybody has the same amount of money you think you need to win. If you're in a city or in an urban area. Alafu people in town, towns don't really come to your meetings because they are busy working. They will only turn up and vote. And the only source of information they get is the TV and the radio. And on the TV and the radio, they only know 2 political parties. For this instance, they know ODM. So the most popular party is ODM. They come to the ballot, they don't know who is running. They only know ODM, wanapigia ODM. Wameambiwa waende wapige 6 piece. So kuna mtu ameshinda kura, yeye hajui watu walimpigia kura ni nani. Another problem you have in town is you'll most likely be campaigning in an area where you're dealing with the residents and not voters.
Exactly, that is the main point.
Watu wenu unadeal na wao wanaishi hapo, lakini hawapigi kura. Hawapigi kura hapo.
So umespend pesa.
Umespend pesa. You spend a lot of money, but at the end of the day,
umetoka zero.
I've seen people, my friend, it's politics. MCA, hatunakimbilia MCA. Ukienda MCA, sometimes you see some people plan it very tactically. Unaona watu mtu anapanga anasema, mimi nahitaji kura 3,000. Lakini nataka nijue hizo kura ziko wapi. Hii kura ya mtu fulani na watu fulani, I have a list. On election day you go to the polling station, you have never seen these people in your ward. Hivyo ndio mtu amepita. Wewe unadhani Kileleshwa? Watu wanapiga kura Kileleshwa, wanaishi Kileleshwa?
Hapana. But there's also a culture that is coming up of importing voters.
That's the whole idea. That's what I was calling problem number 3. Importing.
Mimi kuna pesa fulani
wewe. People are right now investing. Wewe umekaa mahali unasema mimi nitaamka niende nifanye campaign. Kuna mtu amekaa mahali anapanga venye ata-import kura.
Ata-import kura zake.
Anaziregister huko polepole huko kando. So those are the realities we live with. Meskia. Yeah. So even when you win and you start being invited to these tournaments, they are not people who voted for you. They are inviting you because you are their leader at that time.
Si mheshimiwa.
Wewe ni mheshimiwa.
Kuna jamaa mwingine
and you have to be there.
Kuna jamaa mwingine pale kwetu mjeuri kweli.
Inabidi.
Alipoteza yeye alipomfuata akamwambia mimi simuliona sifai. Mpatieni huyo mwenye mlimchagua.
Those are the realities that are on the ground. So I keep saying we have a problem with the culture of politics in this country. And it needs to evolve to the extent that and it's not a question. You go back to hii maneno ya the Gen Z demonstrations in 2024.
Yeah.
So there were issues. There were around 4 or 5 issues, and it was rallying around. We are tribeless, we are partyless,
fearless,
we are leaderless, and we are regionless.
Yeah.
Then you ask, but what is the reality? I'll give you an example of tribalism. What is the reality around tribalism?
I mean, the tribalism is still there.
You see, one thing, a country is either two things. You're either a tribe, you're either dealing with tribalism or racism. You go to the US, go to the developed countries, they're dealing with racism. Now that we don't have racism, we are dealing with tribalism. That is on the bigger picture. On the other hand, tribalism starts, it's deep. It's deep, inaanzia kule chini.
Yeah.
Ukitaka kuwa MCA, unaangalia kwanza, hii eneo yangu mimi ni Mkamba. Wakamba wangapi wanaishi hapa? And then you summon your Kamba people. And then you tell them, sisi kama Wakamba, it is our time. And it happens all over. All the wards, 1,000 plus. Everybody is going to look at their people. Where you are in Mombasa here, that thing is happening in Taita. People are discussing. Now it's even sub-clans. It is a ward, one clan against the other clan, looking for MCA. Clan yetu, wamekuwa hapa sasa ni wakati wetu, sisi clan tujipange. You go to the, now that goes now to the constituency level. And MPs are running here and there. It is now clans. Tulikuwa sub-clans. Sasa tume-upgrade, tumeenda kwa clans.
Clan, yeah.
If it is not a clan, it is a community against another community. Sisi wa Meru na Watharaka. Sasa wakati huu wa Meru watatukalia. Watharaka nini na nini. It is now at sub-county level. It's still tribalism. Go to the county. And it is happening. That tribalism at ward level is happening in 1,000 plus wards. That tribalism at the constituency level is happening in 290 constituencies. Now you come to the counties. Governors, women reps, and senators are running around telling people how, this community has this community needs to do this. Then in other areas, they go as far as now discussing how clans should produce, which clan should produce which and which. They have negotiated democracy based on tribalism. And now you want to come and tell people, my friend, we want to end tribalism. Politicians fear, there is nothing mwanasiasa anachukia ama anaogopa kama tribalist people, because that is what got them to where they are in the first place. Exactly. And nobody will want to
without
destroy.
Divisions, politics will not be there.
That's how they work. Nobody will want to destroy something that got them to where they are in the first place. Ati wewe unadhani president ama mtu yote mkiongoza atakuja aseme let us stop being tribal.
So let me pose to your question. Just to take you back with Baba's exit to the political space. I was following the funeral closely. Najua mimi ni diehard wa ODM. Kuna maneno yenye Junet alisema. Sasa vile baba ameenda tumeachwa political orphans. We are many political orphans. Taking to that concept of political orphans.
people need to think. Sahi ni watu
kwa sababu sasa mzee ameenda, kuna watu walichaguliwa tu sababu mzee aliwainua mkono.
Alikuwa anasema baba amesema.
Kila mtu anasema
baba amesema. So that the people rode on that, and there are people for many years who have, you see, baba built a following ambayo ilikuwa loyal, blind loyalty.
It was more of like a cult bwana.
It's a cult. You don't question, you don't think, you don't reason. Exactly. You've been told. In fact, wakati wengine tulikuwa watu walikuwa wanasema baba akisema mimi ni takataka naingia kwa dustbin.
Kuna there was a moment we also used to be called ODM cows.
Cows and all that.
Because we are just being led there.
So it was that baba akisema it is the right thing. In fact, unakumbuka wakati wa when the people are discussing the new constitution. Wasema bora baba amesoma, sisi tuko sawa. Amesoma kwa niaba yetu.
Hata BBI inasema nini maoni yako? Baba amesema iko sawa.
Baba amesema. So baba alikuwa akisema Anthony tosha. Watu unauliza nani? Na ashasema, and that is how it used to be. So right now there is nobody to come and say, then people have to think, hey, Anthony anakaa namna gani? And people fear that. Politicians fear people who can think. If you can sit down and question and ask and critically analyze, politicians don't like that. Why you ask? Unauliza kama nani? People like that.
You can never outshine the master.
You can never outshine the master.
Laws of power.
That's why kingpins are very lucrative. Because a kingpin chooses for you who will be your governor. We kazi yako ni ku rubber stamp. Baba amesema, Kalonzo amesema. Kama uko Rift Valley, Ruto amesema.
Sasa vile baba ameenda, who is most likely to become another kingpin?
That's a very difficult question to ask.
From the look of events,
it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Who seems to be the next kingpin after Baba?
I don't think there's anybody at this stage. In my view, I don't think there's anybody at this stage, because kingpinship is many things. Being a kingpin of a community requires a certain level of three things. One, you're not just dealing with the euphoria of the people. You're dealing with people who have different generations. They all agree, they think in the same line. The old, the young, the different people, but they are within the community. They say, huyu ni mtu yetu. So you have to convince the elderly, the elders, the young, and all that. That is number one. Number two, you need to be able to be a person who can build networks, sustain networks. Sure. And sustenance means resources. You can mobilize people who have resources. Let me ask you, wewe unajiita kingpin. Can you go to an area and call uite mkutano kubwa and finance that meeting? Fanya hivi. If you cannot do it directly, have people who can do that. So those are some of the kingpinship. Si tu kuamka na kusema unajua sasa. There are people who have tried. And when you, because huwa nasema vitu mbili. Siasa ni watu na siasa ni pesa. Lakini watu ni zaidi kuliko pesa.
Siasa ni watu
na siasa ni pesa. Lakini watu ni muhimu zaidi kuliko pesa. Baba alikuwa peani pesa. Lakini alikuwa na watu. People who believe in what you're doing, people who believe in what you say, and people who understand that whatever you are saying is in their best interest. Whatever you're doing is in their best interest. And they have surrendered their will, and they have surrendered their thinking, and you are thinking on their behalf. So if you stand and say, this is the governor, they want to believe that you have made the right decision for them, so they will vote for that governor that you've said. Let me ask you, is there somebody in ODM who can go to Western or come to Coast and say, Pigieni huyu kama governor?
But Babu is coming
let me give you an example.
In terms of mobilization.
My friend, I'm asking you a very simple question. Is there anybody who can stand and say, mpigie huyu kama mbunge? Na watu waseme, kama huyu amesema huyu ndiye mbunge. So to the extent that if you're not, if people don't listen to, if you are not endorsed by someone, so the whole idea of kingpinship is, if I'm planning my politics, for example, and I'm in a certain area and I know this is the kingpin, I know if I want to win, I have to get this person's endorsement. Is there somebody people are looking? Kuna mtu pale ODM watu wanasema nataka endorsement yake.
But let me tell you, my brother.
As at now.
Ngoja, as at now. The next. As at now, where the party is.
Kuna mtu.
The party is imegawanyika.
Ukienda Ukambani, for example. Kuna mtu atakitaka ugavana atatafuta na
Kalonzo.
Ukienda Rift Valley mtu akitaka ugavana atafuta na
Ruto. Sasa umekuja vizuri.
Umeelewa?
Sasa hivi vile
ukienda Kisumu ukisema sasa hivi unataka ugavana unatafuta na
kitambo ungetafuta Jacob.
Ungetafuta baba. Sasa hivi unaweza tafuta na.
The kingpinship race has been divided into regions. Utapata kama coast sisi tunasikiza ya Joe. Umeona? Ukambani watasikiza Kalonzo. Unapata? Western bado pale kuna shida, kuna Natembea, kuna Mudavadi, there are a lot of issues pale. But ile nationwide kingpin vile baba ame step down, hapo ndo kuna gap.
Baba kwa kingpin wa national.
But baba could go anywhere.
Yes, he could go anywhere.
Baba Coast ashike mkono kina Abdusoma Dapa. Nasema aende Taita pale ashike mkono.
Kuna areas bro by nature. Kuna areas watu. Inaitwa filosofia ya watu. Kuna watu by nature wako na kasumba ya kuishi opposition. Sasa hivi kutokea hata wewe sasa hivi uwe leader of opposition, kuna watu utakuwa na wao. Kwa sababu by nature ni watu wa kupinga. Unajua kama sisi Waluya, it is our nature most of the times to oppose. So mara nyingi kukiwa na opposition utatupata opposition.
So it just be an opposition leader na kuna
there are people by default, by the way of their thinking and the way they have been built. There are people who thrive very well and they associate very easily with the opposition. So it is easier to build, there are areas where it's easier to build opposition. Two, Baba yes could go in everywhere, but the areas he could also, especially recently, the areas he couldn't go freely. Yes, you could go, as a leader you can go anywhere, and that's a fact. Hata president can go anywhere. Nowadays, hata Gachagua can go anywhere. Kalonzo can go anywhere. But the reception, where you say, fine, I have gone here, I have a following. Nimeenda huko, I have a following. Hata sahi, even before 2022, Ruto could go to Kisumu and he would get a lot of people, but what would that translate into votes at the end of the day? So where you have influence, can you get people now to take action in your favor? So that's where the line is drawn. Okay. So there is no, I don't think there is because the idea of kingpinship is in terms of one region and in terms of two, ethnic mobilization. So for example, Taskia, and the media is always the one driving this narrative. Taskia,
exactly.
Kamba community, Taskia vote rich Mount Kenya region, you'll hear elusive Luya unity, these stories, Mulembe Nation, all those things are driven by the media. So when you box people into communities and ethnic blocks, there is bound to be a situation where one person emerges to represent the interests of that community at the national level. Ndio wakati wa siasa ama wakati wa kura ukifika, you always hear a story about a table. A table, tuende kwa meza ya kitaifa, tukae kwenye meza ya kitaifa. Unfortunately, it usually disappears after elections because nobody discusses tables when they are taxing you.
Sasa simkikula simnatoka mezani. It's manners that once you are dining,
no, it
sharing
depends.
The food and eating, you get out of the dining table.
At which point? At which point? Everybody's, you see, what happens is the reality of things. And that's why I usually say young people need to begin to organize and mobilize and begin to build power. Go where power is. Because at the end of the day, you're going to look at all the issues. Because as young people, tulindosama mambo ya Gen Z wakati watu vijana walikuwa wanaandamana. Na unajua mambo ya Gen Z is quite complex. Because you have two groups of people that are agitated. First, you have the Gen Z themselves. They have the power of mobilization. They have social, it's very easy for them to coalesce, very easy for them to form social groups. Then you have the frustrations of the late millennials. So millennials are in three groups. Kuna the early millennials, the core millennials, and the late millennials. Our 92, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. Those are the late ones. That's why when you go back, you'll get people like Ojwang, the young man who was killed at Central Police Station. He was a millennial. Yeah. You get people like Rex Masai, was a millennial. the frustrations of the millennials are the ones that are the emotion of the struggle. And then the Gen Z now have that social component ya kumobilize. So you get these groups of people, and then hasira ukiongeza na numbers. Ndio ukosea hasira ni? Hasira ni numbers.
Yeah.
Because and sometimes unaangalia viongozi, and nirudi nyuma kidogo. Sometimes unaangalia viongozi ama watu wakizungumza, they say, you know, the problem we have with unemployment, for example, the issue of unemployment. You hear say, you know, we have unemployment because we have too many graduates. So the idea is now there's an overpopulation of people who have gone to school. But that is not the issue. My brother, when you went to school, when you were going to school in the early 2000s, in 2000 and hapo tumemaliza shule juzi, you were being told one thing, both at school and at home. Kwamba you go to school, work hard,
Get a job.
You'll get a job, and you live a very good life. You have, because you've worked hard, you've gone to university, of course you had to forego other things. You know, you wouldn't do sports, you would be in the classroom, you know, trying as much as you can to cram things here, and at the end of the day you succeeded. You went to university, got a degree. Because the older generations promised you something. They promised that when you forgo everything else and work hard, you'll get a job. And you will live a very good life.
So I think we have to do a narrative change.
Then you get to now that place where now you are supposed to reap the benefits, or the now enjoy those fruits of your hard work. Then you realize things are very difficult. It is very difficult to start a family right now. People don't even want to have kids. Right? They're even numbering. I can only have 2 kids because the economy is very hard.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to start a family at this time. The life that we are living, and every young person wants to be in the middle class. You work hard. Hakuna mtu anataka kukula chapati maragwe kila siku, bro. People want to reach at a certain point where I can go to the supermarket, get a trolley, ninunue vitu nieke pale bila kuangalia bei ama price tag inasema namna gani. That is the kind of life we want. When we were being told go to school and work hard, that is the kind of life we wanted. And at the end of the day, every generation wants the next generation to be better than them. Wazazi wetu wanted us to be better than them. We want to be better than our parents. So we have that alignment. But now we get to our life now when we were supposed to be now responsible for ourselves. And then we discover, hey, by the way, things are not as we were promised. So the biggest disappointment is in the failed promises that were given to us. Because we expected that at the end of the day, once we've done what we've done, that bit that we've done, we get to a point then we have to think. And then the beauty is we've gone to school. Nowadays we can think, we can analyze, we can reason. We can say, by the way, why are things happening this way? Why is this way, not that way? So that's the difference that we have between this generation and the past generations. For us, we can think.
Okay, a quick question. Coming on, that thinking level, 2027 race.
That's where I'm heading to.
2027 race.
That's where I'm heading to.
Where do you see the young coming up?
That's where
we'll go to those
so
boomers.
When we get to
not even millennials, but boomers.
The older guys.
Yeah.
I call them the older guys. The problem with them, and it's nature, it's human nature. Sometimes you get to a certain point in life, then you become conservative. Nasema we stick to the old. That's why I was talking about changing the culture. Ile political environment ama political culture na system ambayo tuko nayo sahi, it was designed for the voter of the 90s, the early 2000s, and maybe the 80s. Because their life then was different. The reasoning for people. You know, people had farms. Watu walikuwa na lima.
Yeah.
People were not concerned about politics. We could hear the biggest name, that is the guy we should vote for. Umenielewa? So nowadays, my friend, uko na shamba. Do you have a future? And then we go to our life where now you don't even know what is going. You don't have a backup plan. As a young person of nowadays, anaishi town, analipa rent, hana backup. Kule ametoka wazazi ambao walimwahidi atakuja kupata kazi mzuri. This young man is struggling, does not have a job. And even when they are working, they are being paid little money. And you are not sure whether that company will survive tomorrow, because every now and then companies are closing down. So we are living in a situation or in an environment where we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. And where we are living today, life is very hard. So as we go forward, that's when Kasema, the end of an era, the beginning of a new one. We need to look at what what can we do, or how best do we move forward?
Okay, so now coming to that, how we move forward.
2027.
2027. Kenya kwanza ama it's going to be a tight race. Because kwa mtazamo wangu mimi when I look at it, the main competitor that could have given Ruto problems was Baba. And now Baba is gone.
No,
who will
anybody
stand to the occasion?
You can vote for. Somebody was saying.
Propose the man from Sugoi.
Somebody was saying the problem is you can make it two things. An election is about two issues or two things or two people. You can make it a competition of individuals, Ruto versus anybody, or you can make it Ruto versus an idea, that it's one term. That idea of one term itself, kwamba we don't know who will vote for, but we know who will not vote for.
We don't know who will vote for?
We don't know who will vote. As at now, we may not know who will vote for.
But you know who will not
But we'll
vote
know who will not vote for. So that is one way you can look at it. So anaweza kuwa ni Kalonzo, anaweza kuwa ni wewe. So it depends.
So ni mtu yoyote lakini si yeye.
Exactly. So when you put it that way, then you have at least a form of a direction, because it's now founded on an issue that these are the reasons why we feel we are not taking this direction. And it should be, it's not even if it should be, it could be in a way that as young people we put our voice and say this should be the foundation where we say now kiongozi yeyote atakaye kuja tafadhali do your part. If you don't do your part, because you see sometimes people say hakuna president ashaika one term, there is no president ashaika one term. But when you set that as a starting point and say we can remove, tunaweza toa rais anaweza tolewa, you see anybody who comes then atakuwa akikaa chojo sana, atakaa kijoe by these guys can remove me.
Lakini sasa
watu washazoea, and even those people are there, they're comfortable saying the president how can the president be there for one term only? So those are as young people, even going into 2032, we ask ourselves, what kind of country do we want to have? And that begins with a change in culture. I always go back to the political culture, the way people think, the way people reason. Bro, let me give you an example why we have a problem with the older generation. You see, they were raised not to question things. Hawaulizangi. Ushaiambia mtu adult, an older guy, unajua tunafaa tuchague kiongozi na on these issues, based on this, anakuambia kiongozi anatoka kwa Mungu. That is a kind of reasoning. They are not, they don't believe in questioning leaders. That's why when you question, they tell you hauna adabu. But there is nothing wrong, or there is nothing bad as bad manners when you want to be involved in a future you are promised.
Exactly.
So, but when you start questioning, they tell you no, you don't have manners. Why are you asking? Because
they would stand a chance.
Bro, ushaiona mtu mzima na karibu na kiongozi venye wao wana behave?
Mtu mzima karibu?
An adult, an older guy akiwa karibu na kiongozi venye wao wana behave. Ama amekaribia karibu na governor, the way they behave. Those people can even kneel down, bro. They worship leaders. They think leaders are like an earthly version of Jesus Christ. They don't imagine that a leader can be questioned or can be asked anything. So how do you change a country with that kind of population? A population that is so irrational and has been brainwashed that you don't question what a leader does. Even if they
just live to the moment.
You worship them. So hiyo ndio shida tuko nayo. So when young people come out and say, unajua, this is wrong, they don't understand what is wrong. Why you're not supposed to. It is kukosa adabu.
Yeah.
And you see during their times, ni brainwashing walifanywa na Moi. Hii tabia walikuwa wanafanywa, president akikuja wanasimamishwa kwa barabara wanapiga makofi. I think that is one of they were socially engineered to think that. So, but we have a problem with the older guys.
Yes. So
your Raila was at one point talking about intergenerational dialogue.
Yeah.
Because if young people want to change this country, I can tell you for free, we cannot change this country with that kind of population.
So quick question kwako. 2027.
2027, the role of young people in this election.
Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult for young people to to make an impact unless they are involved directly as candidates. Because even amongst young people, there are different calibers of young people. When young people the other day were demonstrating and goons were brought in, those goons were not old people. They were young people. So there are different calibers of young people and the level of reasoning of these young people. Kuna vijana wako who are informed, enlightened, and then there's another population of young people who also follow in the tradition of the old guys. Wakiona kiongozi, they think, how can I extract 200 shillings from this one? So it is a very difficult challenge. There's the rural youth, there's the urban youth, there's an informed urban youth, there's an uninformed urban youth. So there is no uniformity. Let me give you this. Yeah. If you call, ukitafuta mtu wa 50 years Coast, utafute mtu wa 50 years Ukambani, utafute mtu wa 50 years Western, utafute mtu wa 50 years Central, uweke kwa room moja, you will realize they think the same way.
Exactly.
But these young people collect young people random, uweke kwa room moja and start asking them questions.
Different.
Very different. So, alafu, the other problem is, even there is a population amongst us as young people who are even more tribal
than us, than the older
people. You get, like right now there's this thing that has been engineered. You see, when people are divided, when these guys are smart, the politicians, when they are classical politicians,
they ride on divisions.
They ride on divisions. When you are divided as
divide
a people,
and rule.
when you are divided and then they make you hate each other, you cannot see them when they have their hands in your pocket. So what has actually been set up is, for example, I'll give you the one that is there right now. The animosity, they are telling, Luos and Kikuyus, and there is that thing. And then you think, so they are divided. And then so they will make decisions and they will think it is their own decisions. Bro, a brainwashed mass, and the decisions made by a brainwashed mass is just an illusion of a choice. But the choices have already been made for them. So as long as the Luos will have a problem with Kikuyus and whatever decisions they will make out of that kind of feeling,
it's totally different.
It was designed already for them. Ni wao wana rubber stamp tu decision ilifanywa mali kwingine.
So they're just a continuation of the same.
They're just a continuation of the same. So until and unless, and that's why the issues that were raised by young people during the demonstration, they have never been addressed. And another thing, you look at people like Morara, anakuja anasema, we need to do this, and then it's the young people who are also turning up against him, calling him all sorts of names, and he's just trying to do one or two things. He may have his own challenges here and there, but at the end of the day, there's somebody at least who can stand and say, hey guys, can we try this? We have these options.
So in summary, we're trying to say that the 2027 race
is going to be very difficult.
It's going to be very difficult
for young people to really play a role in deciding how the thing goes. Another thing.
So what's your advice?
Let me give you another one. Another problem.
To a politician.
Kenya is 75% rural.
75%?
Rural,
yeah.
The youth who are demonstrating were demonstrating in towns. Uliona maandamano village, kijijini.
Wow.
Who are those people who live in the villages and they vote? When you go to a county, a rural county, and then you're told there are 400,000 voters. Who are those voters? They're not young people. Those 400,000 voters will decide who will be president.
Lakini sisi tunaambia tuchukue kura, vijana tuchukue kura.
Vijana wachukue kura.
Let's register as
Let
voters.
me tell you, enda kwa data yenye IBC wametoa sahi, how many have registered as voters in each county? In Mombasa wamefika 3,000. But they were demonstrating. That's why I was talking about young people being realistic and saying, we have this problem. What are the options? What are the options? And it's not even about the president. You can change the president and name him anyhow. He can be a different person, but the problem will still be there. It was there during Uhuru's time. Those problems were there. They are still with Ruto's time. So the problem is the system that leads up to the presidency. I'll give you an example. If you want to be a president right now, you don't have money. Do you think there's a leader who campaigns with their own money?
No. See,
where do they get that money? Investors. They are entrepreneurs, political entrepreneurs. They put money in your campaign. And after the campaign, they want to return. Kuna mtu ana invest bila returns. So when they come, they want to return their money. How do they return their money?
Tenders.
Wakati kumekuwa na stalled project huyo mtu aliyepewa hiyo kwa sababu alisaidia president kuingia ama alisaidia governor kuingia, unadhani huyo governor ama president anaenda kumwambia kwa nini hujamaliza barabara? So that's how that's the system. That's how rigged the system is. That's how broken it is. So and then you get to a level umepata hizi issues zote. So the people who fund campaigns, at the end of the day there are people who get the tenders. At the end of the day there are people who are going to influence policy on certain issues. At the end of the day there are the people who run the economy. So you as a young person, you want to be president. Morara comes and tells you guys, you know, I cannot run on my, I don't have money. Because there is no, hakuna president ana pesa. Hizo chopa mnaona. President akikuja hapa, if somebody comes here as a leader looking for a presidential candidate, akikuja na magari karibu 30, 40, hizo magari si zake. Amepewa hizo magari. Those cars have been fueled. Every candidate wa huyo presidential candidate anakuwa funded. Women rep wa huyo candidate anakuwa funded. Senator wa huyo candidate anakuwa funded. MP. Alafu the people who fund these people don't fund in one side, on one side only. Wana double chance, waneka double chance. Kuna two leading presidential candidates wanapewa pesa wote. So mtu aneka double chance. So ata recover ile yenye ameweka kwa mshindi, alafu aende pia recover ile yenye aliweka kwa opponent mwenye alilose. Goal. That's the way you are there. It is. You see, this issue of, for example, people have been saying, oh, housing levy. Man, you see, let me tell you. The people who fund campaigns live in Muthaiga. The people who receive campaign money live in Kibra. Pesa ya campaign, wakati wa siasa, pesa ya campaign inatokanga Muthaiga, inaenda Kibra. Mwanasiasa ni conduit. Ni middleman wa hiyo pesa venye na move. Mnaelewa? But wakati siasa imeisha, hiyo pesa haitoki Kibra ikirudi Muthaiga. Itarudi Muthaiga lakini inatoka area nyingine, inatoka kwa middle class. Inatoka kwa workers. So the money goes back to the people because they have to return their money back. So you are the one who is going to be taxed. But when you are doing politics, you are not consulted. As a worker where you are very busy working, the middle class don't vote. They don't participate in politics. But at the end of the day, they are the ones who pay pay for the consequences of bad decisions made by the people who don't work.
So what's your advice for the 2027 race?
So the people who are in the middle class,
your advice for them
need to begin to be involved in politics. Say businesses are shutting down because the economy is not doing well. But those people who are doing business right now, who are suffering in business during politics, where were they? They were nowhere.
In fact, when you go to demonstrate, they're the first one to say,
they are the ones who are saying, you know, unatuharibia biashara. But now that it is peaceful, why are you closing down? Why are you complaining things are not working? Nobody is demonstrating. That's a demonstration ya siku moja. Sometimes
imekufanya ukafunga kabisa.
Inafanya unafunga biashara, imefanya ukafunga biashara. Demonstration ya 2024 inafanya ufunge biashara 2025.
Hapana. There are obviously there are many factors at play.
When you're told tunawacharge housing levy, most of the times those people wanalipa tax ya housing levy, wanalipa housing levy, they were not involved in politics. When you call them for political meetings, they are not there.
Too busy to attend
political meetings. So the flow of money during politics, hiyo ndio shida ingine.
Yeah.
Bro, when hakuna mwanasiasa anatumia pesa yake.
So mimi nina swali kwako. Given a chance to lead, what will you do?
What will I do? You see that
you are given a chance to lead Paul Soita. You are now the honorable member of parliament or the governor. Show us your ways, master.
As a young person.
Yeah.
This system is quite difficult to work in. Because sometimes I've seen people say, you know, the solution to the problem is elect very many young people. But how many young people are there as MCs right now? Many. There are very many young people as members of parliament. Why are they not vocal? Why are they not speaking? Why are they part of that bandwagon? Because it's very hard to survive in that kind of system. Because let me tell you, if you don't listen to the people who funded you, they are going to fund the next person to remove you. So you have to play ball.
It's a game of chess.
It is a game of chess.
Yeah.
So you have to play ball. You have to survive. At the end of the day, you have a life. You have to choose to live as a demon or die as an angel. Well, which one will you choose? But you need to have life at the end of the day, because you have people who are looking up to you.
So given an opportunity, you'll just live.
It's very difficult. It's a very difficult to work in this kind of system. Ndio nikasema, we need to find a way to change, or rather to reform and rewrite the rules, some of the rules of politics.
So how are we going to change them in your own words?
Young people need to demonstrate. For example, wacha nikupe mfano. Young people need to demonstrate that things can change. If today Anthony can run as an independent and he wins, we will kill the idea that you must be in a political party to be elected. Manelewa. You see, you have Moha Jopevu. When he won Nyali, now people started to say, hey, by the way, in Mombasa, somebody who is not on ODM can win. Manila. That is, because politics is perception. Just adjust with the perception. You have dealt with the one part of the problem. But we also have to be realistic. But good people need to learn to be bad. Because if you want to try to get to a criminal, you have to learn his ways. You have to get into the darkness that a criminal walks into, and then say, you will not wait for the devil to come and ukuje umshike kanisa.
Okay, sasa ndugu Paul, 2027 ndio hapa ndugu yangu. Mimi nishakuzoea uko vocal mambo ya siasa. So are you vying in 2027?
For now I'm weighing my options. I'm reading. Bado ni mapema.
Si mapema, sasa watu washaanza kutengeneza ground.
Utachokeshwa boss. Utachokeshwa. Inategemea una contest wapi. Siasa ukianza, mimi huwa najua hivi. Siasa ukianza, kuwa na plan ya kuisustain mpaka mwisho. Usianze ukafika katikati ukawacha. Heri uanze wakati unajua hapa mimi hii game naenda nayo mpaka mwisho. Lakini ukianza saa hii
unaweza finance mpaka mwisho.
Unaweza finance ama unaweza saa zingine sometimes strategy beats morals. Always. Politics is a game of strategy, not morals. So it's not whether, sometimes unaona vitu wanasema, we have to do this is the right thing. Yeah, if it doesn't work, it's not the right. Because you're dealing with mad people out there. So for me, I have to understand, hapa, nikijaribu hii itaingiliana, nikijaribu hii haitaingiliana.
Hivyo bado tungoje utangaze msimamo, bado ni mapema.
Ni mapema boss.
Lakini mimi naweza kushauri anza mapema. Maana wewe ile time unakuja kwanza, mwenzako ashatengeneza grassroots networks.
Siasa ni marathon. Si relay. Ukianza ni marathon, si relay. Ukianza ni uanze na utaratibu. Waanza sasa boss. Kuna mtu amekaa mahali wewe anza zako na milioni zako 2-3. Kuna mtu mahali amekaa anapiga milioni zake 10. Bro unakuja unabebewa paka PA. Chafua ground pia wako pia anakutoroka. Japo siasa haina adabu bro. Mtu anakuangalia atajua sasa. Kuna baadhi siasa iko hivyo. And another thing, politics is scripted. Sometimes people look at politicians and say, this guy is speaking sense. Bro, it's just normal things. Kwani wewe unaweza shindwa kusema shida ya hapa ni vijana hawana kazi? Wewe unashindwa kusema kwamba shida ya hapa ni barabara? Hapana. Provided you have a voice, you know the issues, you can speak.
Ukishafanya research
ukajua hapa pana shida ya barabara hapa. Kuna siasa ni script. Na ndio watu watu wameishi na hiyo. When you see somebody saying shida ni shida, they know, everybody knows. The only difference is I have a microphone and I can get to a radio station or a TV station and say the things that you are saying where you are seated kule nyanjani.
Okay. There's a certain politician ashaniambia in politics it's all about talking loudly. And then doing something and doing it loudly.
Yeah, shouting.
Yani tuseme ni kitu kidogo but amplify.
Na hiyo
tumbo mablogger sema hivi.
Siasa ni sarakasi. Siasa is a circus. You stage a circus.
Exactly.
And you have to make people believe that circus, that drama you are doing means something. Sometimes people do that. Shida ya watu and voters most of the times, hatu ukienda stage ya boda sahi bro, how they interpret politics and how they analyze politics. is not on the basis of development. That's why I say this is my young friends who sometimes think politics is about development. They don't know who they are dealing with. You go to enda stage ya boda, sikiza venye watu wanaongea siasa. They will tell you, utasikia story wanakuambia, hey, Ruto ameshikana na Gideon. Hiyo tushamaliza. Unaelewa? Yeah. Siasa kwa watu fulani ni sport. Ni kama venye ushindani wa Man U na Arsenal. Yeah. That's how some people interpret politics. For the rich, I usually believe that for the wealthy, politics is about wealth and power. For some people in the middle class, it's about wages and income. For guys at the bottom, it's sports. Entertainment. Wewe jamaa ulisikia venye aliongea. Yule jamaa yule anaongea yule. Hiyo ndio siasa hii. Simba yule. Simba yule. So it's not substance. It's form. It's how you do it. You do it in a big way. Ukikuja na kagari kamoja sema yule jamaa ana kitu. Atatuibia yule akiingia hana kitu yule. Achana na mtu hana kitu. Hajui kuzungumza yule. That's why some people who are very genuine, who sound very genuine, but they don't have that aesthetic show of drama. Kina Maraga and kina Umtata. They will have a very hard time because the people who make decisions, and there are many in numbers, don't see politics that way. They see politics as a sport, as a form of entertainment, as a passing time. Ndio nasema ingia kwa stage ya boda mahali popote na sisemi kwa ubaya. And look at the way they analyze and discuss politics. Nobody talks about how the economy is doing.
Okay, sir. So key takeaways from you, nishapata the political demographic landscape, 2027 card vile iko. Pengine kwa kufunga, your advice to the youthful generation or anything that you may have left out.
I would tell young people,
as we give your parting shots,
I would tell young people, come out and contest in large numbers. Jazeni, kama ballot paper itakuwa booklet, ekeni majina yenu pale. Because that is one way of protecting the vote. As if you are a candidate, you can be allowed into the kulinda kura yako na kulinda kura ya watu wengine. Because the people the ideas you are running against, or the proposals you are pushing, they have people who are pushing them backwards. So unasema we go forward, the people who are pushing against you. There's a lot of pushback against these ideas of let us learn to have politics of decorum, politics of progress. The idea is progressive politics. We have a lot of pushback. You cannot succeed by sitting down. We cannot succeed by wishing that things were, or imagining that we live in a bubble that is clear and we live in darkness. So we have to come out and contest. Mi nasema mwanzo contest. Because the beauty with being young is you believe that hard work is good. You know, hard work pays. The other guys believe shortcuts na madili hapa na pale are what works. So young people need to get into that space where they say, I'm going to contest. Whether I win or I don't win, I want to make a statement.
Exactly.
Because when you contest, you'll be given a platform. My friend, if you say today you are running, utaenda kanisa utapewa platform. Utaenda mahali watasema na kuna kijana hapa anataka kitu fulani, wacha tumpe microphone. It's a way for you to enlighten, even do the civic education. So contest. Anza na hapo. Contest.
Okay. Nimeshukuru sana bro for your time.
Nashukuru boss.
Thank you for always coming up.
Thank you.
Definitely go through the bills. Nitakuita tena.
Nashukuru boss.
Sasa nimekuwa exempt hapo kidogo, umesema bado hujazipitia. So
bills
go through them and then
I'll go through
come
them.
And
maisha ni magumu
vizuri.
Maisha ni magumu boss, lazima utafute. Utakaa piga hesabu nyingi sana.
Sasa haina shida. So members, thank you for joining us today in our episode. Vile kijana amesema, let's register as voters, tutokezee to contest. Contest. This has been the Mwaikwasi mic. In case you're here to subscribe. Episodes drop at every Tuesday, and also remember to follow us on our social media platforms. Thank you. Till we meet next time. Asanteni sana.